Hello and welcome, Reds, to a very special podcast. Yes, we're going to be finding even more out about Jeremie Frimpong as well. Liverpool's potential new signing. Let's hopefully it gets concluded in the next couple of days as well. But we're joined by Phil. Thank you very much for joining me, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. And it'd be interesting to pick your brains in regards to Frimpong, but getting your unique insight. Most importantly, mate, first and foremost, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me on, and congratulations to yourself and Liverpool FC for winning the title. It must be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, well, you won the title in your league as well. So yeah, there's no room for Rangers or Everton or Manchester United on this pod.
Nope.
Unlucky lads. Anyway, we'll celebrate our trophies as we always do. Anyway. But yeah, obviously, Jeremie Frimpong, Buds, in terms of obviously 2 years he spent up in Celtic, really. First and foremost, I think in terms of any player coming to Celtic, obviously a very unique club, similar with Liverpool, big expectations, really. Yeah. Just give us a bit of a picture, really, in regards to, in terms of the current, like the squad at that period in time, like the right back he was replacing. Was he coming in? Obviously, how was the feel around the club in terms of, was there a lot of expectations straight away when he come to Celtic?
Well, it was an interesting summer that he came into Celtic because we had just at the end of the 2018-19 season, Brendan Rodgers, who obviously you know very well, had left Celtic in the middle of the night to go and manage Leicester City, and Neil Lennon came in about March, late February, March, and steered things over the line, and we got another treble over the line. So at the end of that season, our right back, who had been our right back for about 7 years, 8 years, a Swedish player named Mikael Lustig. He was definitely at the sort of end of his time at Celtic, but he was a club cult hero, a legend pretty much, if you could say, very popular with the fans, gave his all, defended like a warrior. But yeah, he was probably maybe a year, 2 years past it, as in his legs were gone, 34 years old. So we knew right away, and when Neil Lennon got the job full time in the summer, right back was a huge, huge priority for Celtic. Yeah. And we Lustig leaving, and then we actually brought in 3 right backs that summer. We brought in an Israeli player named Habtem El Hamid, I believe it was pronounced. We brought in a guy named Moritz Bauer on loan from Stoke City, and the sleeper, the unknown gem that we brought in from Manchester City for only 300,000, who was basically coming in as a project player, a youth prospect, because young teenager, and we had a bit of a connection with the City group. Celtic were kind of a member of the City group without being officially announced, because one of our board members, Peter Lawwell, the CEO, his son Mark Lawwell did a lot of work with the City group. Absolutely. And a lot of players that came through the door over like the 5-6 years in the run up to that, like Patrick Roberts, Dedrick Boyata, Olivia Ncham. So whenever a City connected player would come in, some fans would have a little bit of cynicism around it. But yeah, we did sign, El Hamid came in as the main right back, Moritz Bauer, bit of Championship Premier League experience, but Frimpong, nobody knew anything about this guy. He came in alongside a boy named, I want to say, Lee O'Connor, him from Man United, a youngster from Man U at the same time. And again, it was just project players. They'll probably get a chance here and there, maybe in a couple of years. Totally under the radar signing, but what a signing he would turn out to be.
Yeah, it just tells a bit about the obviously as you said, how did he start life at Celtic? Obviously you mentioned over 2 players that did join him in that position, but was it an instant impact straight away for him, or was it a gradual progression, like within the first 6 months, the first season, or did he just hit the ground running straight away for you?
Hit the ground running. As you'll know, Jack, with the way football is nowadays, and even back in 2019, everything's about XG and stats and sports science, but sometimes you just need the good old eye test, and I should know, I've got 4 eyes, obviously. He played in a League Cup game. Now, with the League Cup being the sort of third trophy in Scotland, same with down in England with the Carabao Cup, it is a chance to play a couple of youngsters. And we'd started the season pretty well. El Hamid had been playing, but we were playing Partick Thistle in like the quarterfinals of the League Cup, midweek game. They were a first division team at the time. So it's a chance to, let's try something else. Let's try a couple other players. And that first game, even though regardless of the opposition level they were, you could tell There was other excitement about him. You know, he was very much just full of energy, essentially, all about going forward. And the thing is with Celtic, the way we've got a sort of ethos around the club called the Celtic way, essentially. And it's not just a buzz term. There's always been a thing about Celtic about attacking wingers, attacking fullbacks, getting forward. And right away, you know, this kid wasn't afraid. He was fearless. Compared to, say, Lustig, who'd been a right back for a while, he was definitely past it. He wasn't the guy that was venturing forward much, but you could see the excitement in this kid. And the thing was, after the game, I came away from it going, that kid caught my eye, but on Twitter, again, you can gauge the sort of his name was coming up a lot. So I'm like, okay, it wasn't just me then that felt about Frimpong was a bit of a special talent, and that was his debut. And again, it was just a case of he took his chance right away. Again, nobody expected anything from the kid, and the first chance he gets, most people were coming away from the game going, he looked a special talent. This boy, there could be something there with him.
Yeah, 100%. Mate, you mentioned some of obviously his attributes in terms of obviously his as he's got older anyway. Obviously, he's not the tallest as we know, but in terms of his electric pace, in terms of his game, you mentioned there, is there anything in that really, in terms of the first 6 months, to very much that he did progress into the latter, obviously first half and second half, obviously the second season itself. So what would you say his biggest strengths were as a player for any potential for the Liverpool fans out there to be most excited about for him?
Yeah, I think it probably is still the case with him nowadays. He's very much an attacking fullback, very much one that wants to get forward. His defending at the time at Celtic, given he was raw, still a teenager, at times, you could see there was a bit of work needed there, but getting forward, getting to the byline and whatnot, again, the fullback overlapping the wingers and getting up there, giving you that extra body to get forward. And again, we're a team that are 99% of games in Scotland are on the attack. We're on the ball. We're on the front foot. But in Europe as well, it could be useful because sometimes you're pinned in. You need an outlet from the back, somebody that can get on the ball and get forward. Again, he was young and fearless. And that always stood out with Frimpong. And just again, refreshing my head before, I did this, came on this show. I thought I'm going to go back and just look at some of the highlights. And there was a conveniently placed YouTube video with all his highlights from his first season.
There we go.
And again, a lot of getting forward to the byline, a lot of crosses into the box and whatnot. And he did get a couple of goals along the way, which is always helpful too. Just again, getting in behind, undetected by the opposition team, just overlapping runs, find himself right place, right time.
What position did he play for you, mate? Obviously, you mentioned right back. Was he, as you said, there's a lot of emphasis on Celtic and similar with Liverpool as well. When you've got that much possession, when you're a big side, in one of the dominating sides, especially you alluded to European competition as well. How was he in terms? Did you feel, because a lot of Liverpool fans we've spoke, you're gonna have to as well too, but everyone's panicking about his defensive duties. Well, I mentioned a bit about Leverkusen in the back end of the show, mates, as well, to get your analysis in regards to his game, but in terms of us losing trends, and as you mentioned with your right backs that did leave prior to his move to the club, in terms of his technical ability, is he able to obviously he's got that electric pace, but in terms of build-up play, how would you gauge his game in regards to in the central channels and in the wide areas as well, and even his defensive awareness?
Yeah, I think it's definitely come on leaps and bounds. I think the success he's had since then to go to a Bundesliga team, which obviously is a huge step up from Scottish football. You don't need me to tell you that. And what they've done, when you look at Leverkusen, what they did 2 years ago, they were one game short of the most perfect season imaginable. Obviously, he's got into the Dutch national team as well. I was quite surprised last summer at the Euros that he didn't feature as much. It was Denzel Dumfries, but again, he's a good right back in his own right. But he's got that. He could, for us, he just played right back exclusively because again we had plenty of wingers. But I know that for the Netherlands, he's played right mid and right wing, got a bit more further forward in games. I've seen him do that. And again, the way Xabi Alonso was playing at Leverkusen, he would also have Grimaldo on the left and Frimpong on the right. He might be playing as wide midfielders getting forward again. They might play three at the back. So he's definitely got it in him to adapt. And again, looking back at some of his highlights, there was a few in there of him just like cutting inside and passing into the middle and whatnot. So I think he's got it in him, and he is still on a relatively young age. So he's still got a lot of developing to do.
Yeah, he seems like a a very sound fella, don't he, mate? I don't know, obviously. He's very. How big of a personality was he in the Celtic dressing room, really, from your point of view? Was he one of the big characters, and most importantly, obviously, on the pitch, but most importantly, in the dressing room as well?
Absolutely huge, given again his age, coming in relative unknown, and I think the standout moment, and you need to go and find this clip at some point. We played Rangers in the 2019 League Cup final, so this was maybe about 2 months after his debut, because he made his debut in September, and the final for the League Cup in Scotland is in December. We actually have a final before Christmas. I know it's a bit odd compared to, I know the League Cup in England is down and the finals in March in the springtime, but yeah, we have a League Cup wrap up just before Christmas. So you're talking 2 months, 2.5 months after his debut, and he's playing against Rangers, and it's one of the craziest games of football I've ever been at, because it was one of those ones where the clock felt like it was going backwards. We got slaughtered all game. We didn't turn up. We were just all over the place, but we somehow won it 1-0. Our goalkeeper, Fraser Foster, had a worldie of a game, and there was an infamous moment where we gave away a penalty where Jeremie Frimpong just basically took one for the team. A ball basically got misplaced coming out of defence. It bounced into the path of Alfredo Morelos, the Rangers striker, and Frimpong, young, naive, but I would put it down to, just grabbed him and just took him down. Penalty, and it was a red card. But Fraser Foster saved the penalty because it was just a freaky day. And the full-time whistle came. It was unbelievable. I got aged like 5 years watching that game. But the full-time whistle, the interview is on YouTube of him getting interviewed on BT Sport, I think it would have been at the time, after the game. And his personality, you can't help but take to him. He kept saying, "Oh my days." That became like his little buzz term. We would use "Oh my days." The interviewers like, how are you feeling? And he's like, "Oh my days, I'm just buzzing. I just can't believe it." And he's absolutely exhilarated. And again, she's such an infectious personality. So I think you're going into the Liverpool dressing room, especially though when you've got Virgil van Dijk already there, who again we know very well. Cody Gakpo, another teammate for him with the Netherlands. Gravenberch, and obviously the manager Arne Slot. He will integrate in no problem at all, but he's got a big personality, and that was only when he was a teenager at Celtic in 2019. So imagine him now. I think it'd be a very good company to be around.
Yeah, he's got the Scouse lingo down a bit. I know for a lot of people that's quite hard in itself to understand. Anyway, from all my mates. But yeah, in terms of, obviously you've alluded to, do you anticipate in terms of when, I don't know how much you've watched of Liverpool, mate, obviously, over the last 12 months, but obviously the departure of Trent, the whole football world knows how good he was going forward. Do you anticipate him to be a big, to hit the ground running as he did at Celtic, at Liverpool, from your point of view?
Yeah, I think he will. Again, with the stories about Trent leaving, and you start to get a picture in your head of who would be a good fit to come into Liverpool, that position. And I think Frimpong's name was just an obvious one. I myself was speculating it months ago when there was all talk about Trent was maybe going to go to Real Madrid. And it's like, okay, who can they look at there? And Frimpong stands out because I do feel like Leverkusen, as they had that unbelievable season a year back. This season, it's not quite worked out for them. So you feel like maybe that team has already come to the end of its cycle. And what's going to happen is, when teams usually do, especially when they've had a great success like that, they're going to start getting broken up. Teams are going to start coming to him. So I'm like, Frimpong, maybe it's time to move on, because he has been with Leverkusen now, when you think about it, since
5 years.
2021. Yeah. So it's been quite a while. So it did seem like he's likely to be available. And if Trent is leaving, again, with the Dutch connections and whatnot, it's like he's playing alongside a few of these players at the national team. It seems like an obvious one, like an empty net, basically put it in the back of the net.
Yeah. No, it's good, mate. It's I'm excited for it, bud. It's going to be interesting. I think obviously we've got Conor Bradley as well, but it's the one thing that I want to pick up and ask you, really, that one thing that obviously it's probably at the pressing regards, but one thing that might have gone from the English side as well. Are you a Celtic set to net a certain percentage of that deal of the transfer fee?
I believe we are, but this keeps on changing from this has been a thing about Celtic for years, because where we are in the food chain when it comes to football is obviously Celtic in the Scottish Premiership is what it is, but we kind of know that with the way that the player trading model has went over the years, because after Martin O'Neill was in charge in the 2000 and Gordon Strachan, we were bringing in players who were getting into their 30s, there was no sell-on value, and it was resulting in losing money. So somewhere in the early 2010s, we sort of changed our model to let's concentrate on trying to buy low and sell high. And some of the players that have came through, obviously Virgil van Dijk is one of them. We bought him for about 2 million from Groningen and sold him for, I can't remember, was it 17, 18 million to Southampton?
Yeah. The Brighton lad as well.
Matt O'Reilly. Yeah, Matt O'Reilly's another one.
Well.
He came in from MK Dons for a really small price. But Frimpong, 300,000 from Manchester City. And it was 11 million just 18 months later. So it was like January 2021, only 18 months. And again, that's what it's all been about with the player trading. So he's fitted into that way. When I say it was something that Celtic had to do essentially as after the 2000s where we had too many aging players on high wages, and it's obviously been a success for us for the most part, and he is a prime example of that.
Yeah, so I think a reported fee was like 6 million. So I think I think you sort of, as from what I've watched over the last year or so, mate, you've had a very good success rate in the Japanese league as well. I think a lot of the exports, it's been good from their point of view as well.
Yeah, the current Tottenham managers, thanks to that Ange Postecoglou, he raided that market for us. But yeah, our savvy chairman and CEO at the time, as I mentioned earlier on, Peter Lawley, he's very good at getting a sell-on clause in there. But as I say, it has chopped and changed the stories about it's 10%, 5%, 15%. They'll do something, but I don't know exactly what it will be.
Yeah, hopefully from your point of view, mate, you get properly paid as well, and you can spend that money very wisely on incoming signings and win another league title next season and progress a bit more further in the European Cup as well, mate. Just in terms of the final analysis, really, mate, how far do you think he could go in regards to his development? Obviously, we've mentioned Liverpool as well, obviously quite highly. Obviously, you alluded to obviously him and Dumfries being the two full-backs in the Dutch national side. But can in terms of his game in the next 3, 4, 5 years, has he got the potential to very much become one of the world's greatest right backs? In terms of, obviously we've got Hakeem, we've got Trent as well, but do you think his development will surpass what he's playing at now currently as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think going to the Premier League as well, it is the best league. It really is, for obvious reasons. The best players play there. The German Bundesliga is a good standard, but the Premier League is what it is for a reason. So I think going there, being in that Liverpool team who just seem to be, they're just on a roll this season. The way they were steamrolling through teams, the way they dominated the league title race. I think it will only get better for them, and it'll get better for him playing at that level. So I think it's a smart move for him. It's a very smart choice from Liverpool, because I think it was a seamless transition for the boys. So yeah, I think it's the sky's the limit right now for Jeremie Frimpong, I reckon.
Yeah, all good, mate. In terms of the final one as well, I do apologise, but his defensive side of his game as well, I think that's been one thing that I've debated currently with a lot of my mates going, he's great going forward, as we've alluded on today's pod. You mentioned as a defensive, obviously he was set up as a right back at Celtic as well. His defensive side of the game, as we've alluded to, Leverkusen very high up, very high and wide. I think the final analysis really that I want to ask you, and every Liverpool fan wants to ask every Celtic fan as well, is him playing as a right back. How do you feel, or how, given his time in terms of 1v1s, how about his game in terms of his development? Like, how do you analyze his qualities from a one-on-one perspective? Obviously, do you think his size will be a disadvantage in terms of the Premier League, or do you think he'll be able to cope with his pace and his overall positioning in terms of how well he's developed?
I think his size won't be too much a factor, because he's definitely bulked up a bit since then. So when he signed for us, I say he was just a little teenager essentially, but he wasn't afraid to go in for a slide tackle at the time. I can remember it. And funny enough, a player that we had just prior to him on the other side, Kieran Tierney, broke through as a full-back or as a left-back at Celtic as a teenager, and he wasn't afraid. At that age, they're a bit young and fearless, essentially, and I felt that with Frimpong. So his debut, he was doing that a lot that night, and a lot of fans came away from it going, there's something special about that boy. And I think, again, with the players that will be around him, I think it will in terms of defence and whatnot, it will come on leaps and bounds. He will develop, especially with Virgil in that back line next to him. You're talking about an experienced head, somebody that's a mentor essentially to him. Again, the Dutch national team as well. I mean, Virgil van Dijk is still at his age easily, and from my point of view as a Celtic fan, being a season title holder, still one of the best players I've watched in person. We only had him for 2 years, so you've got him there as well. And also, I think with the emergence of Connor Bradley, again, competition is something that you need. And I think Bradley looks like a good player, so I think that will also keep him on his toes, and there'll be a good battle between the two to keep that, to get that shot and to keep it. So it will be a very intriguing battle, but I think he will, defensively, I don't think you'll have too much to worry about. I think over the time in Germany as well, it's definitely improved. Again, you look at Leverkusen's record, and he's obviously contributed to that. So I think it's an exciting signing for Liverpool. And if it happens, I think it will happen. I'll say when it happens, I'll throw it out there. I'll go for it and say it's going to happen. It will be an exciting one.
Hopefully, mate. Massive thank you for your time, Phil. Much appreciated. Obviously, you do host your own podcast as well, mate. Obviously, just give us a shout out to that. Obviously, the Bhoycie Bus as well. Have you got any podcasts coming up and where everyone can find you, please, bud?
Yeah, so our channel, the Bhoycie Bus, as I said to you before we came on, the sort of main man on the channel, Russell Boyce, with his second name being Bhoyce, and Celtic's nickname being the Boys, Bhoys. His second name kind of lends itself to Bhoycie with Bhoycie. We've just got to merge it together. Bhoycie Bus, like a supporters bus, essentially, because we are quite a motley crew, to be fair. I usually do the Friday night shows, so I'll actually be on at 9 o'clock tonight doing the Friday Feeling, which is the show I do to look forward to the weekend. As I'll be doing that, but our Twitter handle, or X handle as it is nowadays, is just at Bhoycie Bus, and there's numerous links on there to where you can find us on YouTube, and also links to all the different people who are on the channel, because there's about 9 or 10 of us that we just kind of rotate around. Whoever's free can jump on, but I'm always on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, so I'll be doing that later on.
All good, Phil. Thank you very much for taking the time. I'm as I was saying in the green room before we got going anyway, I'm quite new to Anfield Index. Been here a couple of months, still learning the ropes, mate. But hope you've enjoyed today's pod, mate. And thank you very much, most importantly, for taking the time out. And Reds, so that was, hopefully, I've found out a lot already in the 20 odd minutes we've had as well. But Reds, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below as well. Or if you are listening in the audio podcast, do hit us up on social media. And let's hope, as Phil says, Frimpong gets over the line and we get a bit more clarification in the next 48 hours or anytime soon, really. But Phil, that's been Phil and Jack for the podcast this evening as well.